I think the reason why people think I look more comfortable playing AD is because when I joined SK as a completely new mid laner, I was kind of forced into playing one style that the team needed, and I didn't have much space to play what I wanted to and play the style I wanted to, so I was pretty much just playing the same style over and over again, and now that I'm playing AD, I can play however I want to, and I have the team to back me up.
Well, the mystery solved why he played so much Ziggs 2 years ago. Welcome back to the 2016 Spring Promotion Tournament, where Gamers 2 is just one win away from a spot in the European LCS. We heard from Jesse there, of course. He's an AD carry now, and he got his hands on Kalista in the previous game. What were the adaptations coming in for SK? They did have a carry this time in the mid lane.
They did, but funny enough, he said that when he was on SK, he got forced into playing one style. SK Gaming right now is forcing themselves to play the meta as well. We have the Lulu first pick again, this time for Freddy in the top lane. Didn't like it in the mid lane. Wasn't too impressed by Freddy's performance either up here, but I don't think it's about the individual play or like composition here for SK. Like as a team, they just don't know what to do in game.
I completely adore SK's composition. I think it's fantastic. It has 2 damage dealers. It has double peel in the Alistar and the Gragas. It has a Lulu to buff that all up. Fantastic if you can play that composition. However, if you look at Gamers 2, they're running like Kha'Zix jungle, you Malphite top, Malphite, you know, slowly becoming a meta top laner. What I like the most about it is they're playing to their strengths, what they're used to playing, and SmittyJ having this what they call like hardcore engage, either whether it's teleport, twisted advance on Maokai, or having Malphite just overall. It is allowing Gamers 2 to get what they want. Some of these fights, if they can't get the shockwave, you know, just by positioning and zoning, they just put it on SmittyJ's back. He goes in. If not, Kikis will deliver it with the Kha'Zix, and somehow they can get these fights. So overall, Gamers 2 playing to their strengths, SK desperately trying to play meta, and Gamers 2 reigning supreme so far.
And even more impressive from the side of SmittyJ, because we know he would love to play a Riven or a Fiora and get in there. So there's an adaptation in his style. We're going to take a look at the early game, starting off with the gank. That was directed versus the bottom lane where SmittyJ was waiting.
Yeah, so obviously Kha'Zix in the early game, not exactly the strongest of the junglers. Also the gank is set up by SmittyJ.
So forced.
Freddy has so much time to flash though. It's like a max range Malphite ulti, but this is also the first time where Svensson really is in the right place in the early game. He gets the counter gank off, but it's a 1-for-1.
Yeah, this is kind of contrasted to what's going to happen next in the later replays that we're going to show. Now, SK is going to make the mistake of forcing a fight on the bottom lane while their top lane is already pushing comfortably. Look, the TP comes in from Malphite, and there's just no reaction. Candy Panda has to jump out to Jesse. If you make this play, you have to make sure you kill Jesse. Now, teleport comes in from Freddy, but he ends up canceling it. So overall, SK initiated play, being late with the teleport. And look at Svensson right now. He's again not at the right place at the right time.
So basically, SK knows there's 4 guys on the bottom side of the map, on the side of Gamers 2, and yet they chase Perks, who's not even that low at this point. He's only 50%. Obviously, the rest of the team comes in, and Svensson, this is full solo queue, chases straight into it, obviously gets hooked in. Noxek has no ulti, so he can't fight either, and it's such an easy fight to take from Gamers 2, and this just happened again and again and again. We get these really poor decisions from SK Gaming as a team. That last fight, Freddy TPing in like 5-6 seconds too late, exactly like he did in game 1 as well. I mean, it's very surprising to watch how disconnected SK Gaming is as a team.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head right there, saying disconnected, because they set up that play, they go all in. They could have easily sent Freddy in to teleport maybe a second before they initiate on the Kalista, and then they have to get a Candy Panda that kind of gets scared and jumps out before the Kalista drops. Maybe miscalculated a tiny shield there, but overall, disjointed SK Gaming, and it really got to their head because they literally start tilting later on, and we have a couple of clips of that too, where just Gamers 2, the fact that they can just group up so efficiently and commit for these plays overall. Look, Candy Panda right now, he goes in, but I think he ends up dropping here too, and this is after a play earlier that we saw in the top lane where Gamers 2 caught off SK Gaming, where it was the Kalista bait again. So this is twice in a row where Kalista ends up baiting in SK Gaming, and now they pay the price. They lost like 3 kills, 2 towers, and SK was, full tilt at the moment.
I think SK's big problem as well in the early game is they never try and force any mistakes from the other team. They're always kind of like just sitting back, waiting a little bit. They never... That is a situation in the early game we were talking about, how when you have Tristana winning the top lane, in this case here, Lulu can push into Malphite, so you have 2 side lanes pushing. When Tristana hits BF sword, recall both Lulu and Tristana. Push out your waves, recall, and rotate around. You get the early push, you get all the pressure in the lanes. When you swap it back down to the Dragon side, of course, what ends up happening is they stay in the lanes, it goes way too long, they end up dying in the gank bottom lane, and then Malphite gets a free recall, Kalista goes bot, takes the Dragon, and SK never forces anything themselves, and then they just walk straight into the open arms of like 5 Gamers 2 members.
Yeah, there's like these two sweet spots. Either Tristana bases on a BF sword, while Lulu is already walking up to like tag team and release the pressure, and then you go bot and you push the tower, or you do it on BF sword plus pickaxe. Somehow, they managed to base on BF plus Avarice, which is right in between, and the worst part about it was that Freddy already walked to the bot lane, then he had to go back to bot and top. So inefficient in terms of rotations. They could have taken a full tower on the bot lane if they initiated the lane swap, or the re-lane swap kind of, and they just weren't connected at all. They weren't working together, and it just was lacking in terms of strategy overall.
Definitely was for the side of SK Gaming. We're ragging on them a lot, I think rightfully so, especially off that last game. We do have to give props to Gamers 2 taking the right fights, being proactive where SK was more reactive, and our last replay just shows where they get the engage they want, and they have everything set up to go for Baron after because they saw it coming.
Yeah, they saw it coming, and again, it's a good engage from them. They have this fantastic combo with the Shockwave Malphite ulti, even though that's not what wins the fight here. Candy Panda, though, gets caught in the middle of it. And now this Kha'Zix pick really starts shining as well, because everyone is split up. You get the isolation damage. And Hybrid on that Thresh, I like his plays. Hook onto the Grump, flash forward and land the box to get the slow in, and he's making some big plays. And that was early picked as well.
I think Hybrid's is a solid, good Thresh player overall, and really like what he's bringing today, especially in the synergy with Jesse, with the knockups that he's provided from Fate's Call. So with Smitty J going in with a possible knockup, you have to play around Shockwave, you have to play around potential Thresh being thrown in your face, so much threat, which leads to Candy Panda kind of panicking and walking into the fight. And yeah, once he's amidst 5 people, he just immediately drops, reset, and the fight is over. And yeah, Gamers 2, they're working together as a team. And this is one of the first times I've actually seen that in the history of multiple iterations of this Gamers 2 roster. So perhaps they can finally
close it out.
Yeah. One more game.
One more game. A well-oiled machine so far for Gamers 2. We're going to get right into Game 3, but first we're going to check in with you guys on Twitter, because earlier we asked who you wanted to see on the LCS stage next spring, and at RenzoR95 echoed a lot of you and said, hoping to see Kikis back in the LCS, bring back the God Ear, hashtag share the force. He's definitely doing very good in that last game. 10, 1, and 6 on Kha'Zix, his best high cosplay, although High probably didn't get as many kills though.
No, I don't think he got that many kills. But yeah, Kikis, this game, showed up. Last game, we didn't really see him a whole lot. I mean, he didn't do anything in the early game. He's just farming away. So as long as he has 2 team fights, he's okay.
Still not a big fan of the Kha'Zix pick. I think it leaves windows of opportunity.
It's a Kikis thing. He has to play something different.
To get punished, but, you know, if SK is not punishing you, go ahead, pick that Kha'Zix, add another damage force in that team fight.
Yep, we'll see if they go for it once again. The teams are ready, so let's hand things over to Quickshot and Stress for picks and bans.
Thank you very much. We'll find out if Gamers 2 can make it Gamers 3-0. Back to the red side for them. Well, they never changed. SK Gaming opted for blue side, and they first picked Lulu in both of their previous games. Jungle bans have been a priority. Do you expect that to change?
No.
I think it should, but do you expect it is no?
So I echo a lot of what Crapper said with regards to the SK comp. I love the comp. That comp in a team's hands that can play it is a fantastic composition. I think SK got to change up a lot here, because 2 games and 2 games the composition has not worked for them. Make changes. Do whatever you need to do. Maybe first pick the Azir for Fox. Oh, this is going a lot faster.
It is a lot faster. No surprises for either team yet, I feel. Rek'Sai and Braum, the same champions from Gamers 2 as the previous. Lee Sin would be the third. Elise has gone unbanned thus far. So Elise and Lee Sin. This must be what Gamers 2 are talking about. Maybe the Gangplank as well. A lot of options available. But we do see the Azir taken away. I feel like this Lulu's not going to be first picked.
We didn't see... Yeah, there we go. There's the Elise. We didn't see Sven on Elise yet because he hasn't had the opportunity to play it in the summer split since the changes were made. And, of course, Elise came back into the meta.
Yeah.
So now we get to see what Sven can do on a top-tier jungle pick. What will kick us up for? I would struggle to see the Kha'Zix coming out here. Probably not something that I'd want to go for, because Elise wants to dive towers, and you'll never get an isolated target like that.
And with Gragas available, despite the bans, maybe Kikis falls back to the Gragas. We've not actually seen him play it in the Challenger series, but it is one of the priority meta picks. Gamers 2, it's again going to look to change things up. Of course, now because Kalista was banned, Jesse's forced to play a different champion, it will be the Sivir.
Yes, it is the Sivir, but remember, this is Sivir on 5:15. Her ultimate did get a lot of the utility shredded away from it. Now, it used to be that you could kind of arrive late to a Sivir ult party and get the full movement speed buff for the rest of the duration of the time. Now that is no longer the case. You'll only get what is left of the movement speed buff. So it's a considerable nerf that really has seen very little Sivir in LPL and LCK.
It does obviously primarily affect the team fights in mid to late game. Still going to offer great wave clear, still going to offer decent AoE for Gamers 2, and also doesn't reveal anything. This allows Gamers 2 on red side to counterpick something that SK are putting forward. They're going to lock in the Alistair as well as the Corki. So another tried and true second most played champion for Candy Bamba.
Yeah, I mean, Sivir is Jesse's most played in Challenger. It's the kind of champion he likes. He can just go even, maybe get a little bit ahead, and give the utility over to the team fight. He's played 5 games of it.
It's a lot of champions. A lot of times played, rather, in the 18 or 19 games. One thing that the Corki unlocks for SK, with the magic damage from both jungle and AD carry, Fox could play an AD mid. Varus is something that LCS players have run. Jace is something that Fox has run several times in the past. We'll see if he feels the same. Maokai and Kha'Zix lock. So Gamers 2 going to look to counter-pick mid lane. Also, there's AD from Gangplank.
Okay, so yeah, we've actually completely skipped over the fact that Gangplank is another one that's available here from the Azir layover from the last game. Again, does Freddy play it? Does Fox play it? We've seen Gangplank playing it out of the mid lane. It's a little bit different a style as mid lane to top, but do you let a player like Perks have that? Gangplank doesn't have too many particularly bad matchups. I don't know specifically mid lane every matchup, but I don't think there's many safe picks that you can blind pick with a Gangplank available on the other side.
No, not the case. We have seen the likes of Riven into top lane. We have seen Yasuo mid lane, but it will most likely be a top lane Gangplank for Freddy, as Fox will be playing on Orianna.
And this is Gamers 2 banking that Freddy doesn't play GP. I mean, realistically, when you look at it, it's picking the Maokai this early, it's worked for them. They say, okay, let's just hope the GP isn't going to come out. But I mean, at this point, SK Gaming are 1 game away from being out of the LCS. So why not put Freddy on something a little bit different?
Quite a lot different. Freddy does not traditionally play carries, so seeing the GP, we saw him play Lulu. Fox doesn't play Lulu. We see him play that earlier. We've not seen him play Orianna this split either, at all. Now he's on Orianna. For Gamers 2, they're going to have a little bit more safety, and dare I say, more standard. Actually, both of these teams are bog standard. How Orianna never leaves the meta. So, both team comps, again, very well-rounded, and I feel it can come down to execution. Both junglers, a lot more around pick-focused, pick-centric, not the greatest team fighters. For Gamers 2, they just need more of the same. They've punished SK for overcommitting. Maybe SK can play the poke style. You can see the flag is lit. SK, this could be the last time we see that flag for an entire split. If SK get relegated to the Challenger Series, they will need to re-qualify throughout the spring season. And that flag will be replaced by the Gamers 2 logo. That is what is on the line. You guys at home need to tell us who you think will close it out. Gamers 2 won the vote earlier in the day with the hashtag GTWin. SK, can they pull a Cloud9? Can they pull a reverse sweep? It'll have to start here with this Gangplank and with this Orianna.
It will indeed. You know, get over on Twitter, though. Let us know who you think is going to win Game 3. Will it be hashtag SKWin to keep themselves alive in this series? Or will it be hashtag G2Win in Game 3 to put Gamers 2 in the LCS Spring Split? There is so much on the line potentially in this game.
That's it. The logo and the spot on the stage. That is what Ocelot has been fighting for 2 full years. We heard Jesse talking about when he played for SK, how it was difficult for him to unleash his potential. Needed a role swap and the help of Kikis with Gamers 2 to maybe unlock it. Let's see if he can deliver the same pressure on Sivir that he did from Kalista.
It would be a bit of a sweet victory in this setup if Gamers 2 were to beat SK Gaming to get themselves into the LCS. I don't think you could really write
No, you can't.
too much better a best of 5.
No, you certainly cannot. And that's actually something that, you know, we've not alluded to much this series. But SK Gaming was one of the 3 teams invited to the LCS in 2013. SK, along with the former Moscow 5, they changed names to Gambit, and the old Evil Geniuses were the 3 teams that just got automatically into the 2013 season. This would be the first time SK is not in the LCS, along with Copenhagen Wolves. Copenhagen Wolves have been in every single split.
Yep.
And they got relegated for a 10th place finish. There's a lot of history on the line. Freddie talked about it and said joining SK 2 years ago sent him to Worlds. It's got him to where it is, and he would like to re-qualify the team and the organization.
Certainly, with the 2015 World Championships coming up, is a long road for those 3 teams that represented Europe in the Season 2 World Championships. It's been a very long up and down road. SK in this year alone have gone from being at the top of Europe to 4th place in Europe to now being in promotion, relegation.
And 1 game away from not even being in the LCS. There is a glimmer of hope. The Challenger Series has shown that teams, if they're willing to commit, if they're willing to play through it, there is hope. You know, teams like Origin really leading the way. But not every team is on that level, so we'll need to see what SK decide to do. We do have a quick client restart. I believe that was from Perks, who was disconnected from the game, so he should be loading up and is, in fact, loaded back into the middle lane. Stress, both of our previous games have started with deep invades by the respective squads, and then an attempted lane swap.
Yeah, I think we're not going to see it this game, just by the spread out nature of this. We are jumping again. Obviously, 1 minute into this game, we did see some of the onset of this game start. This one's going to be more defensive. If anybody's swapping, it'll be blind, but you can see by the position of the bottom lanes. Nobody's looking for that at all. As fairly standard starts. As Smitty J looking for Raptors himself.
Well, my eyes are going to be squarely on Freddy this game. Barrel mechanics is the new buzzword with the onset of these powder kegs. I want to see how many camps he's going to help clear out.
So it's not for himself. Perks is actually getting the Raptors. If you take a look at where Perks' position is on the map, it's 2 saplings plus the laser from Vlad is just going to take the small wraiths from this. If you were maybe duoing as a mid and jungle, top and mid setup with a Maokai in solo queue, that's a really nice way of getting your mid laner ahead in the early levels. It now means that you require far fewer creeps off this first wave.
We need to see what Perks does with that early advantage. Flash cleanse into flash heal. Freddy had positioned those powder kegs to help out Svenskaren's jungle clear. Gonna get another one up. And again, Sven untouched, so Freddy will back off. He's picked up some XP, as has Kikis and Smitty J, and they will then TP to the respective lanes. And the junglers can go on their merry way. Perks did hit that early level 2. You can see he's got 8 CS to 3. And we'll take a quick look middle, because it looked like Fox has yielded some of that pressure in lane.
Yeah, so I said far fewer. It's actually that you get level 2 off the 6th creep rather than the 7th in mid lane. It is, however, a bit of a difference depending on the lane matchup. So it's a nice little advantage that you can get that actually costs Maokai not much at all.
Yeah, and we keep talking about the respect that pro players give their opponents when they have that early level advantage, and just that extra pressure, aggressive zoning that you can play as well. So it has resulted into a small advantage for Perks. We'll see if it can grow. And this is now Freddy in the top lane. He was dueling with Smitty J. I want to see how the junglers get involved, because Kikis and this Kha'Zix, despite it being non-meta, non-traditional, he's performing significantly better than Svenskeren this series. Sven, I think, gave up 7 or 8 deaths in that previous game. And it's just not having the level of impact. There you go. 0, 10, 14.
As if by magic.
Versus 14, 4, and 12. But Sven wants to turn those numbers around. He's come in for the first gank. Repelled forward, applies the red buff. The cleanse comes out after Cocoon connects. And Perks is forced to use one of his summoner spells. But Kikis, he's managed to find an Arachnid. He's leapt forward. Taste of Fear comes out. Sven is flashed defensively. And it's in fact Sven Skeren that comes away with the more valuable summoner being used.
Yeah, kick is a little bit later to the counter gank here, but it was a good setup from Sven to begin. I like the attempted play into mid lane. They get the cleanse, but Sven on his way out obviously gets caught out by Kikis. It's a heavy advantage with the summoners, as you said, for Gamers 2. That flash not being available for Sven now means his ability to really go aggressive is fairly reduced now. Yes, you can repel out to drop tower aggro, but there's going to be no flash cocoons or anything like that coming out from Sven in the next few minutes.
And I also like the fact that Hybrid had already roamed to the mid lane. He's already showing an ability to move where the map needs. Perks is low, Perks is down! Cocoon connects, first blood to Sven Skeren. 1, 10, and 14 in the series. There's Hybrid with the roam. Hybrid's got the kill thanks to the ignite, and the body block from Hybrid will keep Kikis alive. Hybrid gets caught by a cocoon and a pulverize. Noxiac has joined the fight. He used the exhaust, and that's 2-0 to Sven's Elise.
2-0 on Sven's Elise, and we said that maybe it would stem some of the aggression, but Perks was pushing up in the middle lane. Didn't even flash in that engage, just kind of took it and decided that was it. He's going to hold his flash for the next attempted gank. So a lot of action around mid lane compared to the last two games where a lot of it has been Fox trying to neutralize what Perks is doing in lane. That only worked for so long. I like this focus, however. You turn it around, put the pressure back on Perks, and try and put him behind rather than letting him just go even.
Yeah, mid lane party, and everybody was invited. But it's Fox that makes everybody else cry if they want to. 24 CS to 31, still a little bit down on Perks. And we saw Sven pick up that early sheen in the jungle, so he'll be making his way towards that Runeglaive build, already signaling that he wants the damage, which then could, actually will limit the tank presence heavily on the side of SK. They'll be very heavily punished if they are surprised or flanked.
Punished has been the word of the series. There's been a lot of capitalizing on opponents' mistakes and capitalizing on leads. And honestly, speaking of leads, the surprising ones kind of opened up in this series, in this game down in the bottom lane. Candy Panda right now is nearly 20 CS up on Jesse. And we're only 5 minutes 43 into this game. That's a big lead.
It really
for an
is.
AD carry.
And it's not a lane that we've been watching much this series at all. Brief update, it is a Noxiac microphone-related problem. As you can see, sitting on stage with the audio guys and QA joining. So we will hopefully get that one resolved and back into the game. But for SK, this is a good start. On a jungler like Elise, somebody who you kind of feel has to get a little ahead, much like Kha'Zix in several ways. Use that damage and then use the advantage you have in items to keep punishing opponents. It also suits Sven's play style. You know, he is very aggressive. He likes to be in your face and in your jungle. And having this lead is going to allow him to do that more effectively.
I mean, I feel like it depends on what playstyle you want to go with Elise. So the most common playstyle we'll see is the full tank Elise, where you just kind of are a cocoon bot, you can drop tower aggro. That is kind of your way of doing it. You let other people deal the damage, which is a little less reliant on getting ahead. If you're going to build the full AP, which we've seen in Challenger a handful of times, then you need to get ahead and stay ahead. It's so much more dependent on just continuing to snowball the game out. I feel like Sven should be going tank, Elise in this setup with a Gangplank, with an Orianna and a Corki. He's going to have enough damage.
I think the same.
Coming from the rest of his team.
But if there is a player who likes to carry, Sven has the ability to have a giant backpack. I remember some of his Lee Sin performances, even from Worlds last year and Spring Split, and even the odd game in Summer Split this year. Sven has the ability to solo carry.
Yeah.
With a lead, with an advantage, maybe with standard lanes, going to give him some options to move around. So we'll find out whether or not this Runeglaive comes back to punish him. And I also want to keep an eye. So we need to look at the CS advantages that Candy Pan has built up. And we want to look at barrel mechanics from GP being played by Freddy. Because again, it's a very stylistic difference for the player.
I also want to keep track of what he's upgrading using the Silver Serpents, because there's two kind of different schools of thought. You either go Fire at Will first, which the likes of Gank by Mum will do, or you go for Death's Daughter, which is what Soaz was doing in the majority of games. Yeah. It wasn't one way or the other, and that's it. You only ever do this. It depends on whether you're building for 1 versus 1 or whether you're building for team fight. Because Fire at Will in kind of a team fight environment is going to give you more damage as long as you can hit multiple people over a little bit of time. Whereas Death's Daughter is going to give you more damage on a single target. So there's definite differences, and I wonder whether Freddy is going to look for the team fighting, because you look at the setup that they've got. They've got Poke, they've got Orianna. A lot of it is about being grouped. I just wonder, how does Freddy and the rest of SK want him to play this game? Do they want to just 1v1, or do they want to fire it off into mid lane and help them in a fight?
We'll find out once we do get back into the game. They are resolving the audio issues, and then we'll find out how SK does decide to play out. We do see level 4, I believe, on Gangplank, or 3, if I'm reading that correctly. So 5. I was there. I was there or thereabouts.
Should have gone Specsator.
So the cannon barrage will be up in the not too distant future.
That took too long.
Oh, that terrible.
Took too long to get.
That was so terrible. You know, if I just stopped and looked first. But anyways, we do see a advantage already for Freddy. Going to start letting those powder kegs charge up. And we actually see Freddy maxing his parlay first, not powder keg, on Gangplank.
Yeah, that's not all that uncommon.
Looking to get rank 5 on level 13 on his powder keg for those cooldown ticks.
Yeah, so the other thing to remember is this isn't the Gangplank that had the increased cast time, or at least the spacing between powder keg plants, so you still should be seeing quite a few quick succession barrel chains like we saw from Gangplank Mom, but Sven is invading into Kikis jungle. There's the first ult of the game.
And there it is. Sven's in trouble. He's probably going to go down to Kikis. He's going to repel out, but what goes up must come down, and it's kill secured by Smitty J. Freddy's got no more mana. He has managed to get a slow or some damage onto Kikis. The sapling comes back in. Fox has been able to roam up to the top, but so has Perks. Powder Keg comes out. Chaos Storm goes out. One more tick should secure it, and that is a 2-for-0 trade in favor of Gamers 2.
That's so disheartening to see. A flash over the wall without looking at your mana. I think everybody has done that once or twice, and you know what that feels like. Now amplify that with being in the one game where you could be out of the LCS. On stage, Noxiac looking for bottom lane, trying to make amends.
So Hybrid was able to flay Noxiac back, but still got caught by the Pulverize. Takes a big chunk of damage. It's Pickaxe Siva versus Phage Corki, and that big CS advantage that the Candy Pen had built up has now been evened out. Kikis is looking to 1v1 Fox. There is a shockwave available for Fox. Sidesteps the Cocoon. Kikis has found one. That's why they wanted Kha'Zix. They wanted the early game damage. Kikis is going to get survived. He stays alive thanks to the Void Spikes heal. That was minuscule, but it was enough. Noxiac will most likely reply. No! The death sentence! The Lantern! The Lantern saves him! Kikis has 9 lives and uses all of them in that invade.
Oh man, not only did he get the heal from the Void Spikes, he also used the smite onto the Raptors, gets the health back from having the purple upgrade for his smite as well. Kikis going by the skin of his teeth through the jungle. This Kha'Zix is working out very well for him. And from what was a good start to the game for Svenskeren, the 2-0 start, he greedily invades in the top side and now gets caught out in his own jungle after trying to help Fox. Kikis is 1v1's Fox down at this point. I mean, Sven was coming to help, but should have read that Perks was coming across. SK are falling apart at the seams right now and have been over the last 2 games.
Unbelievable. If SK's mentality wasn't shaken already, it has to be now. Freddy has also been engaged upon by Smitty J twice in that top lane. With that Glacial Shroud, Smitty is just trying to keep him down. Kikis, with a Warrior Enchant already completed, toyed with the idea of the dive. They got spotted out by that roaming Ghost Wolf Spirit. Svenskeren, Cocoon, it connects, it's going to sink in the fangs, Cannon Barrage comes out, but Kikis will be able to stealth up. He's trying to get away, did manage to use the crab, but Svenskeren will dash forward, flash forward rather. can get that kill. They've traded 1-for-1. Look at the roaming. Perks is now in trouble. Noxiac has found him. Shockwave will pull him back. The gravity field stun does not really matter. Chaos Storm comes out. Perks does not have a flash available, and he will get run down. It's 2 more kills for Svenskeren, and this game is just going bonkers.
This is a crazy game right now. Very back and forth and very sloppy. I mean, there's been a lot of sloppy plays just in the series in general, but this one is just SK invading, Gamers 2 invading, just everybody trying to get into the enemy jungle. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it doesn't. The problem is it's not clean. Remember, these 2 teams are playing for a spot in the LCS. Okay, you don't have to be a top LCS team even if you're in the LCS, but you should be striving to be making clean plays. Looking for consistency rather than just praying that something works by invading. This time it pays off for SK. They managed to get a couple of picks, but maybe the next time that happens, they don't account for a teleport and suddenly SmittyJ comes in and wrecks them. This time, however, SmittyJ couldn't get out of his lane. Gangplank was putting on a little too much pressure.
Let's see if SmittyJ can find these opportunities. A couple seconds before Freddy's TP becomes available. Cannon Barrage 50% away from being available. And even as far as gold is concerned, Freddy missed that barrel combo and placed one up on the front line, but it was out of touching distance. And that meant that Smitty in the CS is going to keep pushing forward. If we look down the line, Perks is down in CS to Fox, despite the early donation of the Mini Raptors. And of course, with Hybrid roaming very early on, that's what hurt Jesse's farm. It's now been evened up, and Hybrid will say, sorry, Jesse, I'll bring some support to Kikis if you're in trouble. Looks like they want to go for the Dragon. It does look like Sven and Fox want to respond though, so this is a little risky.
Yes, this is. I mean, SmittyJ, however, is recalling. I wonder whether he's going to be able to teleport in time. Doesn't channel his teleport yet.
While Jesse tries to go along the side route, he peels off to the right. Teleport came in from Freddy first, and so does Smitty. He's got home guards already, and he's killed Freddy. The Gangplank is down. Remember, there's no tank line. Shockwave comes out. That will get one onto Jesse. Kill credit goes over to Noxiac. Smitty is still on the front line. He will be dying. Sustains with that passive for a few seconds longer. Dragon continues to hit Gamers 2 on the back line. It seems to be locked on the wall, as Gamers 2 have lost 3, secured 3 of their own. Kikis and Perks are backing out of the pits. And it looks like a 3-for-3 trade in a very messy team fight.
Very messy team fight. Kikis at that point does not have his leap upgrade, so couldn't look to refresh off the juicy low health targets. He's as angry people are fighting.
Yep, Dragon is not a happy man at the moment. But the objective remains unsecured, not taken. And Gamers 2 and SK trade kills back and forth. You've got a fed jungler from SK, 4-3-1, and you've got a fed mid laner from Gamers 2. Here's that fight once more.
Yeah, this is the onset of the fight. So SK collapsing from both sides. As you said, no ultimate yet on the Gangplank. Oh, no upgrade on the ultimate from Gangplank. And good chase for the start of it from Freddy, but look, he places a barrel. Can't get anything further from it. Teleports into this fight actually fairly low and ends up getting punished for it. From there, SK, they know that Gamers 2 don't have resets, don't have the damage to actually tidy this fight up. So Hybrid does look for the flash hook, banking on Candy Panda moving downwards. He manages to connect on the Alistar, which results in another kill, but G2, I feel like they picked up enough from that fight that they're actually not going to be too unhappy about that. Yes, SK do have the slight lead and continue to push in, but G2 are still showing they have a fair amount of damage.
Yes, they really are. Obviously, that Dragon ended up outside the pit. It's not where he should have been, and he is now back where he belongs. It's something the guys off stage will be looking into. But SK, with the Trinity Force power spike on Candy Panda, they push down that bottom wave. They take Gamers 2 out of tower. That's the first of the game, and it will give SK a minor gold lead at this relative early stage of the laning phase.
Keep in mind also, obviously Gangplank looking for that Twisted Fate, Trinity Force as well. So there is a very definitive power spike coming out from SK Gaming. It's one that G2 will have spotted a mile off and will be playing around themselves. So
and again, those Trinity Forces, lack of tankiness, you got a haunting guys on Svenskeren. I mean, he's trying to snowball further ahead, but it's only an 800 gold lead.
It's a risky strategy that can pay off, though. I mean, I personally really dislike the Magic Pen Elise, especially in this setup. You don't need to carry this game from the jungle on Elise. You have enough damage anyway. So make sure that you have enough vision control using the Sightstone. I mean, also Svenskeren has opted for the sweeper, hasn't upgraded it yet, could still swap back and look for the warding trinket. But this reduces your ability to play out on the map.
But it does increase your ability to chop down trees. Smitty, however, he's going aggressive on Freddy to try to turn it around. Now out of mana, that Vengeful Maelstrom will be unusable. There's no flash available either. And Noxiac sends him right back to the tower. Kill number 5 to Svenskeren and SK Gaming.
Or Sven could walk over wards, end up top lane, and SK can get the kill because Noxiac's up there as well, while Smitty J's playing a little too greedy. So, I mean, again, it's SK looking for a mistake from Gamers 2, and they find one and exploit it.
And very well played on the roams. I think both Hybrid and Noxiac have showed they can impact other lanes. Well, there's a lane that needs some help. Fox, Chaos Storm, he's flashed forward. Here comes Svenskeren as well, but minions are too far. Flash Cocoon does get cleansed away. Perkz is going to be able to survive, and they trade everything except the Shockwave. If Fox had found an opportunity, maybe could have been able to pick up a kill there.
Couldn't find it though. Perkz is a little bit too mobile running around in that situation. Has the upgrade on his Q as well for that extra movement speed. So he's able to just move himself around that little engage and avoid the Shockwave to begin with. So Gamers 2 right now. We're looking down in the bottom lane at Jesse. Currently this is the first game that Jesse actually hasn't had the lead. Jesse is actually down in CS and in the kill count. So this is one area that SK can now use, look to group when it comes to actually poking down with Candy Panda, and look to set up a you know, in front of a tower.
Well, Smitty J's Maokai is doing quite well against Freddy up until that trade. Cast a curse and all. Freddy turns it around. Powder Keg is charged. There is no cannon barrage for a few seconds longer, but I didn't see Kikis rocking up, and neither did Freddy. They get a kill onto the Pirate top lane, and this opens up the tower. Look at the minimap. SK are regrouping in the mid lane though, and they forced Perkz away, so there should be a tower trade for tower trade just as soon as we look, and yes, that will be going down.
It will be, but now this gives SK the ability to actually set up deeper vision control around the entrances to mid lane, so in theory it's a slightly more valuable objective when it comes to map control. Gamers 2 will not be too unhappy by taking the tower for themselves. They did manage to get another kill onto the Maokai, getting pretty tanky here, but keep in mind the Gangplank, if he continues to get stronger, get a couple more levels, play for the later game, he's going to ignore so much of the resistances on the team from Gamers 2.
And Jesse just recalling in a terrible position. Noxiac once again, right place at the right time, manages to interrupt Jesse and also gets his flash. That's important to note. No flash on Jesse means Freddy and Sven should be able to have a field day if they can get to him. You see Kikis once again just roaming through the jungle. So gold still in favor of SK. They've got a tower advantage as well, despite being down one dragon. And if we look at the itemization, Perkz has gone for a different Victor build as well. Early Abyssal Scepter, because of how fed Elise is, and obviously the magic damage threat from both Fox and Candy Panda is important to note. Tower number 3, uncontested here.
So Freddy heading back to base. He is about to get his first upgrade onto that cannon barrage. It's ever so slightly later than we've seen roughly on average for Europeans, just at the tail end of where we've generally seen that first upgrade come out. So I am very intrigued as to what it is he's going to buy. Fire at will. Okay, so he's looking for that extra teamfight presence with his team.
Slightly less upfront burst, but he's going to have Svenskeren and all that magic pen for that regard, so kind of works out. Kikis will secure his own Raptor camp. And we see Sven again aggressively positioning forward, aggressively playing in the jungle of Gamers 2, and it's a little greedy. Doesn't have the wards really to play with, and now technically he is in fact surrounded by Smitty J and Kikis. there is some support here from Perks, and Kikis, he's trying to get the Academy Award. He's baited Sven in. The Shockwave comes out, but who's baited who? The bug spray was used, and Sven killed Kikis. Now Perks is in trouble, but the rest of Gamers 2 have arrived. They've traded 1 for 2, and SK are overcommitted. Fox and Noxiaco here. Cannon Barrage comes down with the fire at will. Smitty's peeling away. He does have a frozen heart, but the focus is hybrid. They've ended up trading 2 for 2. Junglers and mids are down. Smitty's trying to buy some time. The Candy Panda's rocked up. I think Smitty will be cut down here by Freddy. Freddy's flashed forward, gets the passive. The Arcane Smash will buy some time. Here comes Hybrid as well. The Lantern will give a brief shield, but it's not enough. Noxiac finds Hybrid, and SK Gaming refuse to give up. Despite the death sentence connect, he will be cut down by the true damage over time. And SK, they are 3,000 gold up.
Finally, SK are looking a lot more comfortable in this game. They depart the Protect Candy Panda strategy, and suddenly everything seems to click for them. Speaking of Candy Panda, he actually solo killed Jesse in the bottom lane by the looks of it during that engage. So action all across the map for SK Gaming. I think we're actually going to take a look at it. Jesse, yeah, he's dead.
Wow.
That's a lot of damage come from Candy Panda. Has a Triforce, Sorcerer's Boots, Bilgewater Cutlass.
Yeah, we are back to seeing Kikis.
That's not a fight you want, Noxiac.
No, unfortunately not. Noxiac going to be a little caught out here. Kikis doesn't have Flash, but the Void Spikes will pick it up. And despite getting a kill, you know, SK are in with the shot this game. They've now got a Dragon. They've got more towers, more kills, more gold. I've talked a little bit about history and how SK have been around since the first LCS. The last time they were in the promotion tournament, they went down 0-2 to the Super Hot Crew, which is SK Gaming, and then reverse swept them in 3 very convincing games. SK will be looking to do a similar thing today, but it starts by closing this game out. It starts by using the lead they have now accrued.
And that's one thing that Gamers 2 cannot do at this point, is they can't sit back. As in their mentality-wise. They can't say, okay, we're 2-0 up, we've got this, let's just put it in, we're in the LCS. Because honestly, that is a slight problem that has plagued Gamers 2, not so much in this lineup, but in other lineups, is a lot of overconfidence. When it comes to their attitude towards we're the best challenger team, we've seen it happen before where everybody said that they're the best, they're the second best, but they've never got to this part before. This is the one that counts for them. Forget everything else, just close this game out and Gamers 2 can win. But they are behind. SK are looking a lot better in this game.
The one thing that does play into Gamers 2's favor, they've been behind a couple times in Summit this year and actually won it. You know, that denial game we talked about earlier, it's a good example where Gamers 2 were down in gold and down in map play. But they managed to punish a misplay for their opponents. And SK, this time around, not making the same mistakes. Look, deep vision, grouping effectively, not overcommitting, and they're going to start sieging this top tower. Yeah,
Freddy can influence this situation a lot faster than Smitty J. Smitty J has to teleport in, whereas Freddy, not only can he teleport in, he's also got the Cannon Barrage as well. So in this situation, it becomes easier for SK to make plays on the map because you can be the first one to the punch. There's no real way of G2 reacting faster. No Dragon available, and SK going the long way around Summoner's Rift, heading from top lane to the bottom lane.
Because of the fact Freddy's shoving that wave up. Freddy's going to push it up. They could meet him, and if Gamers 2 don't send some wave clear, there could have been tower threat. Instead, they'll just steal that blue buff.
Ooh, Perks showed in the mid lane. That was a little risky for him. There was, of course, the Talisman of Ascension on Alistair. Could have looked to get that engage. Wasn't particularly warded out from Gamers 2 side of things, but they will be given a little bit of respite here as SK will recall. Didn't find anything top side and couldn't find any objectives on the bottom side of the map either, so that means it was time to back away for them. Look at more purchases. Can see a little bit tankiness now going on to Svenskeren. Has the Giant Spell, Ruby Crystal to go alongside it, so not opting for the all-in AP Magic Pen build.
Not opting for the kick-ass Warrior Enchant Black Cleaver build. So the theory behind it, I mean. All damage all day. Kick-ass 2, 2, and 8. I think you could debate that Kha'Zix pick. But it did build up somewhat of of a lead this game and previous. And for SK, not the greatest amount of wards, despite all the time spent in their opponent's jungle. No Sightstone on Svenskeren or warding Trinket, which is something we've alluded to a few times, means not the greatest deep vision.
I think the thing that actually, goes along with this Kha'Zix pick, whatever thoughts are about it, I mean, G2 have played around it. So many times you'll see just an unorthodox pick, and the team won't play around it. I actually kind of want to take people's minds back to the Spring Split playoffs, where we saw Unicorns of Love with Kikis run Shaco. Now, obviously, that's a far cry away from Kha'Zix, very different. But the way the Unicorns played around Kikis, playing a carry or a split push jungler, is very similar to how G2 have been playing around this. Is Smitty J hasn't needed to carry any game, unlike how we used to see Gamers 2 play in the regular split. There's been a big shift here. So this is how we play when Kikis is on a carry, and it's working for them.
The interesting thing is, for Gamers 2, if they do lose this game, because they are down 4,000 gold, they can adjust that playstyle. And a big man who could be impactful in making them lose this game is Freddy122. Infinity Edge and Triforce completed. Gonna get that passive movement speed and killing the Powder Keg. Setting his Trial by Fire alight. That top lane in a turret once again, getting poked down and sieged down. I would still like to see more wards placed in the jungle, because SK are doing such great work at pushing G2 into the defensive, but they're not laying the foundation for future pushes. And in actual fact, Smitty's going to get an outer turret in the bottom lane, claw back some of that gold that G2 have hemorrhaged over the last 26 minutes.
Big point for Freddy, as you talked about, as that tower goes down. Not only is it now the Infinity Edge as well, just finished off those cooldown boots. So that means those barrels are going to come out thick and fast, and they are going to hurt. 2 E's and a Q is going to kill a minion wave every single time Freddy sits in front of it. And that's the point at which now the Gangplank snowball really starts, is nobody can ever clear a wave in front of him fast enough. He also now will have access to his level 2 and level 3. He's actually at 420 Silver Serpents right now. Typically, nice. the timing of the 3rd upgrade is about 32 minutes.
Yeah.
Give or take a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And of course, the laning and the amount of CS you get and yada, 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 it impacts that quite a lot. So Freddy is doing a pretty good job on this Gangplank. We've still seen, the barrel mechanics master that is Soaz and arguably GBM in the mid lane, slightly different style, but still very impactful. But they've not sieged with those barrels incredibly effectively. I think they've respected the engage from a Maokai and Sivir.
One thing I will say is Freddy didn't look as comfortable as we've seen Soaz or GBM when it came to the early game barrels. It's difficult because it's such a long cooldown, but Freddy certainly, the positioning wasn't preempting his own cooldowns. It was a lot more, oh, this is what I would be doing late game with it.
Yeah, that's true. You forget that the cooldown is dramatically impacted.
Frustrating.
Very early on. And I'm going to go back to that little point that we said, because SK as a team, as an organization, even with a bunch of these players, has been in this position. Freddy, Sven, Candy Panda, they were playing with Jezz and Nif in the Spring Promotion Tournament from 2014, which is 2 years ago now. And in actual fact, as I said, Jezz, their opponent today. And then they pull out the reverse sweep. So for SK as a team, as players, these are guys who've been to World Championships, who have been in positions they have to re-qualify for the LCS. They've been in playoffs. Traditionally, SK has always stepped up. And this is the game where it has to start. Still 4,000 gold in the lead and still pushing G2 defensively.
But to reverse sweep requires a very determined mindset.
Yeah.
And think back to the videos that we've seen just today from Freddy, even the interviews we had with Freddy at the end of the regular season, talking about how this season was a failure. I want to forget this season. I think we're pretty much done.
It's tough.
You now have to dig even deeper than you've been digging all this entire time for the next 3 games. It's not to say it's not doable, and it's a spot in the LCS. If they're not digging deep, I would be incredibly surprised. But it's going to take a lot of resolve to come through in this series. They've got the platform to do it from in this game, though.
We'll find out if they can. We do obviously have a technical issue, which the guys are investigating at the moment. So apologies about the delay once again. I have been informed that it is in fact a toilet break for Svenskeren. got very excited. He needed to run to the loo. So is back in his seat. So we will be getting back into this game in a minute or two. 26 minutes in. If anybody has just joined us, it is, of course, SK Gaming fighting for their lives. Fighting to redeem the summer split and the downward trend that they have been on for the last couple of weeks and months, in fact. It's disappointing because, you know, we hit right at the top of the show. SK as a team, they finished 6-12. But of those 12 losses, 5 games, they were nearly 2,000 gold up at 20 minutes on average. Some games, they included those least 8 to 10,000 gold. What a different split it could have been if some of the decision-making had been better.
Just a handful, maybe 1 or 2 of those wins. But honestly, the same goes for the second LCS team that's here today in the promotion tournament. Everybody's talking about how good Gambit have looked. Gambit looked great. Gambit winning scrims. Gambit this, Gambit that. Just a couple of wins here and there. Yeah. That's all it was, a handful of games. But nevertheless, this is the hand they've been dealt. So now you've got to play with it. So, SK find themselves a fair margin, a good margin ahead. Now getting their second Dragon of the game as well. This should be the platform that they can use to get this to a game 4 and get just the SK machine rolling again.
Oh, it certainly should be. There's still room for growth in the team composition of SK. On the side of Gamers 2, quite reliant on an unorthodox jungle pick to help them in this mid to late game.
And G2 in the first 2 games weren't really deterred off their strategy. SK didn't do anything to make it difficult for G2 to go into the next picks and bans phase and say, okay, let's just do the same again. Specifically out of the jungle. So I wonder now, looking at this game, whether it'll be slightly different. Sven's had a lot more impact in the early game. He's also kind of flipped that coin on both sides, where it's, you know, he's got 4 deaths as opposed to his 2. So there has been the second side to that.
Yeah, that's the case. But when you go super squishy all in, that is the risk. But of course, for SK Gaming, there is no more room for error, and they are on blue side for the next 2 games. So they will have the option to first pick any champions. Gamers 2 elected red in game 4, and they picked blue in game 5. So same colors through the entire series. Just adds an extra dynamic to the play. We saw Danush and the team in the pre-game, just outside having a team chat. Whatever they talked about seems to be working.
Certainly seems to, but I mean, there is a bit of an elephant in the room with that. Normally it's Lukashenko, but there's the hook onto Svenskeren.
It is. Svenskaren's going to repel up. He's going to buy some time. Hybrid has been chunked up, but here comes Jesse on the hunt is up. But here's Candy Panda as well. Mid laner is down for Gamers 2. Jesse aggressively flashes over the shockwave. He's going to be able to get a kill, but it's Fox that's cleaning house. Now they turn it around. Smitty J on the front line. Vengeful Maelstrom's dropping so much of the damage. Kickers leaps forward, forced to flash out. He did not want that fight. Fox is in a little bit of trouble. They've ended up trading 3 for 2. And such great play from Jesse to get away from the shockwave.
Kicker still wants to go, though. He's still got leap and mana. All he's got to do is just annihilate one target, but they've both split up into the top side jungle. G2 again punished just off a hook from Hybrid. Hybrid is pretty much landing game-winning hooks in each of these games. May not be the same all the way through the laning phase. He's steadily got more comfortable on the stage, but he's making the big plays now. Now that the hook landed onto Sven, without being tanky at all, Sven just kind of melts in this. The fire at will, or the cannon barrage, is behind the team fight, so it's actually doing nothing at this point. Good flash from Jesse to get him out of the shockwave, puts him right into the fire though. Yeah, puts him right into the rest of the damage, so good in one respect, not so good in another. But, you know, G2, again, they're getting team fights against SK when they shouldn't be.
Yeah, managing to connect with the necessary skill shots. You know, when you look at Gamers 2, the engage is very linear. It is a death sentence, or it is Maokai running at you. You can make those things better with On the Hunt, of course. Or you can flank with superior vision. But as it stands, SK Gaming doing some counter warding. We see 3 sweeping trinkets. One of them is upgraded, that's from Noxiac. Couple of green wards, but not a lot to speak of, and still limited vision. So despite the fact that SK were in the lead and 5,000 gold was a large amount 10 minutes ago, the limited vision and limited pressure on the inner turrets of Gamers 2 means they've stalled this game out, and relatively that gold lead continues to show.
And a lot of it is because look at what G2 are doing. Oh, Hybrid.
He's down. Shockwave invested for that though, and there's a numbers advantage. That's an aggressive Candy Panda, but Smitty J's found him. Here's Kickers. He stomped on him. Now Candy's down. They turn their attention to Fox. Noxiak is trying to run interference. Freddy was able to teleport in on the back line, and this is a great fight for SK. It's a 2 for 3. Kickers looks for more. Svenskeren is going to be able to put some damage down in reply and finds the cocoon. 2 for 4, and Gamers 2 get punished for being out of position.
Yeah, Gamers 2 standing in the bush, hoping to get another hook from Hybrid. It's telegraphed by SK, and again, punishes the word of the series because so much of this has been back and forth just on mistakes. G2 hadn't properly dewarded, and there's no real way of consistently taking that. Only one sweeper trinket on the side of Gamers 2. All of the rest of the warding trinkets have been upgraded from Gamers 2, and you just got that blue trinket sat on Jesse. But look, Hybrid standing on a ward, gets cocooned into the shockwave, and it's easy setup here.
Teleport even comes in ready. Jesse took so much damage up front, he simply couldn't stay in the fight.
And all of the carries are just zoned completely away by Sven and Freddy. They have to keep running because that gangplank is just going to deal too much damage if you stay around those enclosed areas with the barrels. Kikis wanted to get Sven at the end of this fight, but wasn't going to happen.
Could have got the reset and got out, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. Cost the 3rd death for Kikis. And Smitty J is doing work. I mean, quietly building up CS 270, 4, 4, and 8. Got that Righteous Glory, Frozen Heart, Spirit Visage, most likely going to be a Banshee's Veil next. So that's a big tree.
Well, what I was going to say before that all happened and Hybrid got caught out, it's going to happen again. I'm not going to get this point out.
Candy's going to Valk away. Back to the point.
G2 aren't really putting anybody against Gangplank. They're just engaging.
Well, Noxiak is going to use that Unbreakable Will. Defensively, SK are now split up. Kikis looked for the leap, but did not find it. Jesse invested on the hunt and got nothing for it.
And now that there's no teleport for Gangplank, it denies SK the option to put GP down in the bottom lane and sit there. He now has to react to everything the Gamers 2 are doing because that Maokai is never going to sit in lane against him.
No, not at all. Maokai, Smitty J has teleport in a few seconds, so the window to split push is available. But Gamers 2, they need to dig deep. They are, again, 5,000 gold down. We did see a Cocoon connect on Smitty J. Fox, Noxiak, and Candy will be taking this in the turret shortly.
And the teleport is going to be important here because if Smitty J manages to get himself back onto the fountain, get the home guard out, there are wards set out beneath him, but the rest of the team aren't in position for that. Kikis is the one that's looking to flank, but he's going to be caught out. That's a lot of SK members surrounding Kikis right now, and the rest of the team just isn't there to react. Good dodge out from the Cocoon. Did have to use his ultimate.
And Talisman of Ascension there was used by Noxiak. You can see Perks. Look at that damage! Wow. Powder Kegs and Cannon Barrage forces Jesse and Perks away. Could this be Baron? Could Baron be secured by SK? Or will it hurt? Let's find out. Perks is recalling. Jesse's trying to lifesteal. He had a Bloodthirster. We are in a full engage. That Shockwave hurt Kikis and Smitty J, but it didn't kill Kikis. Smitty's engaged. Vengeful Maelstrom is up. Boomerang comes up from Jesse. Blue team, Baron secured. That's SK. Fox has got one. Freddy's got another. With Kikis and Smitty down, SK extend their gold lead, and now they can push for another Dragon or for an inhibitor turret.
And this time SK get the Baron and only lose one. Games 1 and 2, they managed to trade Baron away for losing their entire team. Now they've zoned Gamers 2 out of their own base. This tower is going to die exceptionally fast once Candy Panda and Freddy turn their attention. Barrel zoning from the side, but Jesse managed to get himself in front of the base. Oh, wow!
He just got shut down. The Lantern is going to pull Perks away. Chaos Storm used to try and wave clear, but look at the zoning from those Powder Kegs. Hybrid and Perks, they have in fact held onto the tower. They did lose Jesse in the process, but that is crucial for Gamers 2 to try and stall this game out.
And now with the teleport nearly up from Freddy, put him down in the solo lane, get the 3rd Dragon for your team, and build yourself a situation where this game should be easy to close out for SK. This one shouldn't go away from them at this point. We've unfortunately said that before for SK, and there has been a tendency in the summer split to do it, but if ever there was a game to just hold on and close out, this is the one. This is the one for your career.
Yeah. For spot in the 2016 LCS. SK down 0-2. We did see that last whisper picked up by Freddy. Big school of thoughts is not needed with those powder kegs. Well, revert back to that discussion. Here's that replay with Kickus and Smee got caught by Shockwave.
Yeah, so early Shockwave over the wall. Chunk Kickus down. Makes him think twice, but he knows he has to go. It's too late though, even with all that vision. SmittyJ went in early. The rest didn't follow up from Gamers 2. He didn't want to just dive into the pit, or that would be the full game over there.
And Kickus is so late to jump in there as well.
Yeah.
You know, in the previous game, Sven Skaren actually stole a Dragon and a Baron from a Callista and Smite. That should never happen. On the hunt was used. That was a giant Maokai. Death Sentence goes wide. Sven manages to dodge. And Hybrid gets away from the powder kegs. Look at the river. Here comes Noxiac. He's going to headbutt away. Does not find the Pulverize. Fox does have his Shockwave available. But Gamers 2, they now have position in the middle lane. SK. Let me rephrase that. SK have position on the middle lane, and Gamers 2 need to reposition.
But no minions, and Kickus is cutting the minions from behind them. I mean, SK right now, they're going to tank it up, get the inhibitor for themselves. It will delay the push. G2 can't get caught here, though. They can only lay damage down from a distance.
This is risky. Smitty's engaged. He's got the ultimate ready, but doesn't find a target. Look at Kickus in the mid lane. Noxiac has found SmittyJ. The tank is down. Kickus gets caught by the cocoon. Sven finds the target. Lantern by Hybrid will pull Kickus away. And Gamers 2 now in a 4v5 scenario for 45 seconds. SK have cracked open the base and got supers.
And that's the Baron buff expired from SK though, so they will not be able to siege up this bottom tower quite as easily. But with SmittyJ dead for 33 seconds, they should be able to at least push the inner one through, should they choose to. However, there is a big stack of Gamers 2 heading towards the tower. Kickus looking for the flank. There's a big ward that will spot him out. They don't have their tank here. I don't know how much they can get done here without a massive ultimate coming from Victor.
Well, we'll find out. Chaos Storm and Death Ray. How much AoE can I put down? Kick is still hiding in the tri-push.
They're waiting for SmittyJ.
He's coming up. There's a teleport in 3 seconds, but the tower's down. The Void Spikes comes out on the hunt as well. Kick is invisible for a few seconds. He'll stay alive. There's Smitty. He needs to find a carry, but there's so many of them. Fox is the man he jumps onto. Boomerang comes out. Fox goes golden with the Hourglass. Kickers was fighting the minions. It's Fox that gets the kill after the Hourglass comes back up, and Noxiac gives his life for his mid laner. The Shockwave deletes Hybrid where he stands. I believe there's a triple kill for Fox before he's taken out. Candy's doing work, and Kickers still not involved in the fight. A 2 for 4, and the damage dealers of SK are simply too much to get through.
And that's pretty much the game for SK. Gamers 2 only had one option available, and that was go for and engage with the home guard teleports. SK are too far ahead. They were far too strong in that fight, and there was just nothing Gamers 2 could do aside from try. They knew that this game was done. And that takes us likely here to a game number 4.
That will be the case. Nexus turret number 1 is down. Kickers Banshee Veil is popped. There's a super minion on Nexus turret number 2. The kegs are chained together, and Kickers is burned down. Gangplank is a threat. Kickers leaps forward, but SK Gaming keep their LCS dream alive. One more game, 2-1. Gamers 2 need that to close the series. SK, they need a reverse sweep to requalify for next year.
Much better game out of SK when it comes to playing around their composition, playing around the Gangplank. Candy Panda looking much more comfortable on the Corki, got himself a lead in the laning phase as well, ended up solo killing Jesse.
Yes.
So, I mean, if there's now a few more threats for SK that G2 have to think about. Now you have to think about banning the Gangplank because SK are blue every side.
And it's adaptation from SK. They banned out the Callista, they banned out the Azir, denying that from Perks, denying that from Jesse. All of a sudden on Sivir, Jesse does not have the same impact. Again, that ultimate took a nerf. We felt it in the late game fights. But Gangplank's a consideration. Freddy performed really quite well. Chained those kegs together at the end. Put enough pressure for Gamers 2 to crack.
Yeah, I honestly think, though, if that is the playstyle that SK are going to go for now, I wonder if we see SmittyJ change up his playstyle. We've seen Gamers 2, exactly, we've seen Gamers 2 play around their jungler. Maybe this is the one where they say, okay, they've undone our strategy a little bit here with the Gangplank. Either we ban it, or we let SmittyJ loose.
Well, we'll find out. Will Smitty J become unchained on Riven? Can head to the analyst desk to take a look how SK forced us into Game 4.
Oh, well, I sure hope so, to see that Riven or that Fiora still. But different champion picks coming out of Smitty J than we're used to seeing from him. The same kind of goes for his counterpart. How much weight did that Gangplank pick in the end carry?
I think teamfights in the late game was a lot better for Freddy than the early game. Very sloppy battle mechanics in the laning phase. Didn't really have much of an impact there, but late game it was fine. But really this teamfight here, or this compensation from SK, this is like watching them in the summer split. First 2 games here, they're trying to find a style. They're playing the meta, you know, trying to have these very coordinated compensations. Doesn't work. Falls apart. They don't win the early game. They don't really play well enough. Now they go back to strong lanes, you know, Corki into safe, a strong lane for Corki after level 6. At least early game, you know, for Svensson, he can go crazy. And suddenly they start finding a lot of kills, and it seems a lot easier for SK to play this very solo queue-ish style, where it's a lot about the individual player.
Yeah. I think SK overall has had decent draft. Game 1, you could argue that it was too one-dimensional, but they still had a way to play out that game for them to win. Games 2 and 3, I actually argue that they won the drafts. But Gamers 2...
But they couldn't play them. That's
they couldn't play them. In Game 3, they actually played better in this draft. Biggest thing is just Svensson has to have a comfortable jungle, and this led into the early game as well, where we finally see SK be able to get ahead. Perks here, yeah, he has to flash that. He just straight up dies, and SK kind of get ahead.
This is where Gamers 2 getting very greedy, and I think they're respecting Elise in the early game, because they're staying around. They were looking for Svensson a little bit. Can we get a kill on him? Instead, he obviously just walks around, and he joins him for these very early fights, which is exactly what Elise wants to do.
And this is where SK had a really big lead, but suddenly Gamers 2 actually, it became the Kiki's highlight reel. He made some sick plays. He finds here Svensson in jungle, jumps him. This is when Svensson has a big lead. And what he does right next, this flash here is nothing next to genius. He flashes over, dodges out of the ultimate, allows Smitty J to come in, and then they clean up. That was such a smart adaptation. We could see a lot of players flash defensively, barely survives on a sliver of health, and this could have been Gamers 2's chance to get back into the game, but it really wasn't enough.
I thought SK game was done right here.
Yeah.
I was looking at the player camps. The players look so down. You know, Freddy flashes forward, doesn't get the kill. It's like, well, Gamers 2 is going to take it out. But then we went back to the same kind of style where SK Gaming, after we obviously see Kikis have a massive outplay, another one of his showing what he can do in the context. And
Calculated?
Calculated? Sure. I mean, he gets the last few heals in there, and Svensson can't do a whole lot against him. But outside of these plays from Kikis, we didn't see much more from him. And then it was more the SK game. Sure.
Yeah, props to Svensson to stay resilient, because he twice in a row right now, these plays were very close to each other's timeline-wise. He kept his head cool, and he found a couple extra picks, 1 or 2 kills on the side of the map, and then suddenly he also paused to go into the bathroom. Here we see obviously Gamers 2 really talking about 1 game away. It was 2-0, now it's 2-1. Yeah, getting
Still
closer.
1 game away though for them. You mentioned about SK being also more solo queuey in this game. So how come it worked out better? Because on the other side they were also in disarray.
I mean, first of all, the comp from Gamers 2 where they have the Sivir on 515, it's really not a very strong pick. It's very easy to lane against it. So we saw Candy Panda kill Jesse's 1v1. Jesse didn't have an impact all game long. And then I also think the team fights for Gamers 2, they joined in on the crazy style. Like they were flashing forward. Yeah. Perks is like, okay, oh, there's the Elise. I'm going to flash forward, kill her, and then die myself. Then Jesse did the same to try and kill the Corki. And that kind of style, especially when you run 3 carries, as SK Gaming did this time, is what they want. Because then you have an extra damage shield. This is one of the fights where they're flashing forward. Perks obviously first thinking, okay, I need to kill Svensson, so he flashes in. Jesse will dodge the shockwave, that's great. But again, he's dashing forward into Candy Panda to finish the kill. And there's still enough damage left on SK to clean up the fight.
These fights were very, very close, often 3-for-3, 2-for-2. These mid-game team fights, what forced the Gamers 2 lineup to go forward was the Gangplank ulti in the back, zoning them in. And then I feel Gamers 2 made the mistake of over-committing to a single target. Here we see Hybrid get caught, but they do trade it for Orianna ulti. Again, Gangplank ulti forces them to all go in the same direction. We have a lot of damage coming out of Kikis and Smitty J, but overall, they just greed. Perks here just, I think it's this fight where you just straight up walk. No, this is not this fight, but one of the fights Perks played, he literally walked in forward and suicided to get Svensson. It's just not good target prioritization, not good kiting, because they're limited in pathing, mostly due to the Gangplank ulti. So I do like that SK Gaming take that away from Gamers 2, because they were thriving in the chaos left, right, and center, and they were forced in more predictable paths in the teamfights. It does seem that SK managed to play them better that way.
So looking at the pick and bans, just very quickly with how Gamers 2 decided to pick it. They took the Maokai blind in the second rotation. Now they've seen the Gangplank from Freddy. take the Victor or the Orianna in the second rotation, save the last pick because they're again on red side for Smitty J. He has the Riven. It is a good matchup into Gangplank. And then suddenly you will probably get a very different game. Because I feel like what SK Gaming did was smart enough. They're like, okay, we won the lease. We need early game power right now. I don't think Gamers 2 really adapted to it. Going to Sivir early as well really didn't take anything away from SK. So if they just change the order, and I probably would like to see Elise ban instead of the Rek'Sai. Ban Elise, Lee Sin, the two big playmakers with Sven, and then he won't have the same impact.
I heavily dislike the Sivir pick as well. I think the strength of the Gamers 2 bot lane was the fact that they had good trading with Kalista. They also allowed Hybrid to play hyper aggressive because Fate Call could always pull him in and then use him as a re-engage. Those two factors got eliminated, and then they picked a passive AD carry that can get 1v1. Gamers 2 should pick up the early Corki. Props to Candy Panda for getting that Corki and then getting the 1v1 kills as well. So overall, a lot of things to learn here on Gamers 2 side from the draft.
Yep, and SK Gaming getting back in that one. And over on Twitter, where we asked you who you wanted to see on the LCS stage at Almost Simon1 writes, the Svenskeren carrying SK Gaming to stay in the LCS and starting over for a strong 2016 season. Whenever you count him out, he pulls out his backpack and he puts everything in it.
So you keep banning him out. They tried 2 bans so far. I don't think Rek'Sai is necessary. You cannot make the same kind of plays as on Elise in the early game. So switch the bans, Elise in, Rek'Sai out, and let him first pick that one.
We'll see what happens, but SK is still on the brink of relegation to the Challenger Series. They need a reverse sweep to stay in the LCS, and we know that's possible. Our coverage of the Spring Promotion Tournament continues right after this.
SK, this could be the last time we see that flag for an entire split. That is what is on the line.
Go! Nice.
I'm coming. I will go.
We can fight.
I'm on Corki.
Get him on.
I'm on Corki.
I'm on Orianna and Corki.
I jumped too.
Orianna.
Ori?
Elise. You got him?
I'm on.
I got him.
We need come.
There's a numbers advantage. That's an aggressive Candy Panda, but Smitty J's found him. Here's Kickers. He stomped on him. And Noxiac gives his life for his mid laner. The Shockwave deletes Hybrid where he stands. I believe there's a triple kill. 4 Fox before he's taken out. SK Gaming keep their LCS dream alive.